Welcome to this video which is going to be an online critique of Khan Academy. This presentation was made and helped by Roxana, Ennis, Chase,
Mike.
and myself, Mendel. So, Khan Academy is a free service for teachers and students where you can learn materials for many different subjects, mainly revolving around STEM subjects such as math and science. The interesting thing about Khan Academy is that it was started by Saul Khan, as you can see in the bottom left over here. He made videos initially for his cousins to tutor them in math, and quickly his cousins started to prefer that method of learning as opposed to actually him being there, which was interesting to him. And then he's known to say that he feels this is the case because his cousins would have the opportunity to learn at their own pace and their own time without the pressure of having him there. So this service has expanded immensely from the times when he uploaded videos to YouTube and starting in 2006, and encompasses many subjects, even in the humanities now, mainly history though. So the strengths which Khan Academy offers: A, curated lessons. These videos are very well made and have excellent examples in them, and the ways that Saul or the other presenters present the videos is very friendly to people and uses like a very conversational tone. So it's not like a lecture in a university where the professor just lectures something. Second strength, it's a large variety of subjects, again, mainly in math, and this brings to the second point, which is that especially in math, this is a great tool to use. And it's not only math in high school, but like from kindergarten even all the way until high school. And honestly, even into university, you can use some of these videos. The content's very well organized. There's lots of practice problems, and this brings into why it's useful for teachers, and we'll get into that later. There's also another reason it's good for teachers is the formative quizzes, and just ways for teachers to see where the students are at in the course, and also ways for the students to see where they themselves are at in the course. More strengths are again, with the tracking, so the profiles that this site has, you can have a teacher profile, a student profile, or a parent profile. There's pre-assessment tools for teachers and students to use for themselves. There is, and what I found really interesting, I didn't know before looking into this, was that as a teacher, you can actually connect a Google Classroom to a Khan Academy class and import your students and track them that way. And we'll get into why this is a good thing for teachers in general, but also why it might not be as useful for us as Ontario teachers. Lastly, Khan Academy actually has a full section for teachers if you make a teacher profile, which has a lot of resources, not only for how to use Khan Academy in your classroom, but also just general teaching tips around, like, for example, put in here like differentiated instruction. Some of the shortfalls though, and this comes into play mainly because we are Ontario teachers. The curriculum that Khan Academy follows mainly is the US curriculum, and we're talking really with respect to math here. So if you were to use this as a teacher in Ontario, you'd really have to pick and choose elements of Khan Academy's courses, and you can use those in bits and pieces, but you can't really just go right through it because it doesn't really follow the curriculum like the exact expectations, and you'd really need to make sure that it covers them if you're going to use them. The questions that students might have while doing these activities in class, like while they're actually doing the questions, and if they're doing the questions in class, they could ask the teacher questions. But if they are doing them on their own, then it's very hard for them to get answers to the questions because the videos are sometimes really specific examples. This can be another shortfall. It depends, though. If the student's really independent, they should be able to find other examples on the internet, or if it's part of the class, then obviously there's the opportunity to ask the teacher. Who uses Khan Academy? So mainly students and teachers. There could be also people just trying to remind themselves of something, like a tutor. So students who work on their own, like basically learners who work on their own, will use Khan Academy as a way of just gaining more knowledge. Maybe like a student who's really keen and wants to move ahead will like watch more videos and do more, essentially modules through the course, and just learn extra information. And this these students generally, some of them obviously may struggle with questions, as I mentioned before, but a lot of them are very used to being challenged like that, and will find other ways of finding those answers, as there's many other types of videos online that you can learn from. Within a classroom, though, students mainly are using Khan Academy in one of two ways, either as like a support for lessons. So like they can use, like the teacher will assign like a video just for a certain topic and they watch it when they're at home, and then they come and they will be able to do questions with it in like sort of a flipped classroom. Or it could be used as well to support students who have missed classes, and also maybe for extra questions. For teachers, so teachers, this is basically falls into the two methods that I mentioned before with students. So we as Ontario teachers may fall into the method one, where you're just using it as an occasional support for the classroom. But for method two, this maybe if you're a teacher in the United States or in a country that uses a US-based educational system, you can really actually use this almost like for almost every topic if you're like a math teacher, because the way that these modules are set up is that you can really have students do a lot of the work at home in terms of like watching videos, and then even do practice problems. Then when they come into the class, you can give them extra practice worksheets and eventually a test. But the tools that Khan Academy provides for those types of, if you have, for not to say if you're fortunate enough to work in the States, but if you're working in that type of system, there are more tools for you. So e-learning principles, and where does this really appear in Khan Academy? So the principle of coherence. So generally these videos, and I say generally because this might actually switch from video to video depending on the complexity of the topic, but generally speaking, the coherence principle is adhered to in these videos because things are pretty much, there's not too much clutter around on the screen. As you can see, like an example over here from a screenshot, like this is what it looks like for a student doing a question. So, I mean, this isn't too much. Now you can see over here, there is like a closed captioning. This can be obviously gotten rid of, but we'll talk about this in a bit because this is an interesting point, why this always appears and what that means exactly. So the principle of coherence we found generally is adhered to. Multimedia goes without saying. I think that Khan Academy is pretty much used as an excellent example of this as is written. All the videos are well made. There are supports and pictures in the questions that are asked. It's an online service, so multimedia I think is used very well in the website in general. Continuity. So Khan Academy actually has separated, as we can see from the screenshot here, all their videos into different topics, and with math especially into grades. So we can really see here how the content is really separated and categorized properly to adhere with this principle. And there's also, like, within every unit as well, there's clear progression. We'll get to that in another principle, actually. Redundancy. And this is one of the times when we might say that Khan Academy violates a certain principle. When you turn on a Khan Academy video, the closed caption is automatically on. Some people, when they don't know this necessarily, they just see it and they leave it. But as Saul or the presenter is talking, there is text coming at you at the same time, and it can become a way that there's too much redundancy in the video. Now, obviously, you can turn it off, and they do this so that they can be inclusive to people who are hard of hearing, but maybe it could be done in a bit of a different way. Again, it's not the biggest deal, but it can be said that they violate that because it automatically turns on. Personalization, definitely. The videos are all made in a way where it's very friendly to the ear. It's very personalized. Like, it almost sounds like someone's talking to you in this conversation, and not very formal. It sounds almost very informal, which is good for a learner. Segmenting. So again, similar to continuity, segmenting is basically almost the same thing, but at a lower level. So in every single one of these courses, there's units, and you can clearly see how it's separated, and the learner can see this, the teacher can see this, and the videos are separated and the questions are separated for the video. So it's very very segmented, as the principal states. Pre-training. So inside Khan Academy, there's an interesting tool which I didn't know about called missions. And missions can be given by the teacher to students to do, and it sort of acts as a pre-assessment tool. So the students will go through it, and it'll be like challenge questions, and then you can basically see, the teacher will be able to see, and the student, how many they got right and wrong, and where they are, like what level they should start at, or what type of, more importantly, in practical terms, what questions should they be start working on, and then basically from there on, you know the next lessons that you should be giving them, and it just helps organize the class, and sort of plays into differentiated instruction, as in the beginning of a year, let's say you give this mission to the class, and then you can give the stronger students more challenging questions, and the weaker students you can you can give them time to catch up to the level at which the course is running. Final notes. So this is not really to do with e-learning principles, but just teaching in general. So firstly, growth mindset. As a group, we felt that Khan Academy is a great example of how growth mindset is used in the classroom, because it allows students to get things wrong and they can continuously trying it, and the teacher can support that because they get constantly giving like the formative quizzes through it, and just when you're getting something wrong inside the Khan Academy, it's gives you hints, and like there's these videos you can watch. So growth mindset, I would say, is very much supported. The end goal of a student doing a lesson is for them to know how to do it. A little bit of a negative, which we thought could be a negative, is the point system. So there is a points plus badge system, and on your own this could be okay, but in the concept of classroom, you can get like competition between students. It could become something which you don't want in your classroom. And lastly, the question arose, is this website a CMOOC or an XMOOC, as we were discussing this in class? And we felt that generally this is an XMOOC. Funny we say that, but that's because there's really little social interaction within the site between students. It's the social interaction which would happen in a course like this is really between students in the real world, in the classroom, or the student and teacher in a classroom, but not really through the actual website. So this is why we feel it's an XMOOC. Also, if you're a learner on your own going to the website and learning things that way, it's definitely an XMOOC. There is a place for you to ask questions, like a forum, but admittedly, even by Khan Academy themselves, it doesn't work as intended. It's kind of slow. You don't always know whether you're going to get an answer to your question. It's sort of like asking a question in a YouTube comment. Don't really know whether you're going to get a response or a proper response. There's not a proper system for that. Thanks for listening to this video.